Welcome back to my channel, Duct Tape Mechanic, and in this video I'm going to give you the top 3 reasons why your GE side-by-side refrigerator is not cooling. So if you find this video to be helpful, make sure you subscribe to my channel for more DIY and tinkering videos. Alright, so here it is, the refrigerator in question. It's a basic GE side-by-side refrigerator with the freezer on one side and the refrigerator on the other. Basically, this video is going to be applicable to any sort of side-by-side refrigerator made by GE over the past 10 or 15 years. They haven't really made any significant changes to them, so they all are pretty much the same thing. On this particular one, the model number is that right there, if you're curious. But basically, the very first thing we're going to be doing is pulling this refrigerator out. They do have wheels, so it's pretty easy to do because we'll need to get to the back of it. All right, so we are at the back of the refrigerator, and that's where we come across the number one reason why your refrigerator isn't cooling. That's because of the condenser coil is clogged up with dust. Now that can be both the vent for the condenser coil, which you see right here, or the coil itself can also be clogged up with dust. The condenser coil is essentially the element of the refrigerator that exchanges the hot air for cold air. So when this has a whole bunch of dust on it, or the coil itself, which I'm going to show you after I remove this grating right here, that exchange of the temperature exchange can't happen, so your refrigerator can no longer get rid of that hot air, so thus it'll stop cooling. And so basically on these GEs, this grating is held in by 5 bolts, which are 5/16 size heads, so 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Then they've also got one screw, which is a 1/4 inch size head. So we need to remove that and clean up the vent right here. So once we've got the grating for the vent all loosened up, we can kind of move it out of the way, and we'll come back and vacuum that up. Cleaning that off by itself isn't going to solve most of your issues, most likely, but you're actually going to have to come to the condenser coils themselves. As you can see, this is the condenser coils, and this is the level of dust buildup we have on them. So that is a lot of dust buildup right there. So we're going to clean that up. That will drastically improve the refrigerator performance, or if in this case, where if it's not cooling at all, that will resolve that issue as well. Now they do make special brushes to clean these condenser coils off, and I can link that condenser brush. It'll pop up around now in the video. You can also use like a small vacuum or any sort of brush you have on hand, but they do make a very specific brush to this that will help just make this process a lot smoother. Now, I do recommend opening up your, the grating for the back of the refrigerator and cleaning out the condenser the condenser coils every 6 months. So you don't have any issues at all, because I've done service calls where not only do I find dust back here, but this is a breeding ground for roaches, because anywhere you have the potential for food droppings and a nice warm place to hide, you can easily get roaches. So in this case, there's no roaches back here, but I've seen it where it's just the back of the refrigerator is completely scattered with roach poop. So by doing this every 6 months, you're going to keep the dust down. Then you can also come back and make sure it's nice and clean, and even spray any sort of pesticide that you want to in the back of in the back of the refrigerator. Obviously you want to use indoor pesticide. But anyways, let's get these condenser coils all cleaned up. So the condenser coils are looking a lot better now, and they look a lot more cleaned up. Now I do recommend using that brush that's designed for the coils, just so you don't damage them, because they are a really delicate thin metal. I also went ahead and vacuumed out that vent grating back there, so yeah, that will resolve 80% of the issues, just cleaning off the condenser coils. All right, let's move on to reason number 2. All right, so reason number 2 is that the condenser fan itself is bad. So as you could see, that the fan right there is turning on and spinning as it should. Now, if the condenser fan isn't working as it should, or if it's not turning on, the effects will be pretty much the same as having the condenser coils blocked up with dust, in that basically the condenser won't be able to exchange heat. So as you can probably see in the video, this particular fan is working as it should. So basically it should be running 24/7. So I'm going to go ahead and just pull the power to the refrigerator just to demonstrate that. So I went ahead and pulled the power, and that fan has come to a complete stop. And so if your refrigerator has power on, that fan should be running at all times. If yours isn't, it's just held in with 2 screws. So it's got a 1/4-inch screw on this side and one on the opposite side, and here is the plug for it. Then you just can go ahead and just pull that out. So that is the condenser fan being the second reason, and I'll also try to post a link for that part around now in the video, so you can just click on that if you notice that your fan itself isn't working. Alright, so reason number 3 is that the relay for the compressor is broken. So with the power on, you should notice that the compressor is warm or giving off a slight vibration. That's because it's got a motor in it. So right now I can tell that it's on and working. So if you put your hand on your compressor and it does nothing, then you know it's an issue with the compressor not turning on. Another thing, or a tip you could do, is go ahead and just power off your refrigerator for, let's say, 5 minutes, then try to plug it back in, and if the compressor doesn't kick on within the first 30 seconds, then you can definitely come to this part right here, and then you'll know that your compressor isn't kicking on. So I'm going to show you how to remove that relay and how to test it further as well. Alright, so here is the relay. It's that white piece right there, and it's attached to the motor capacitor as well. It's typically just 1 unit, and it's held in place by this clip right here. So to undo it, all you got to do is just kind of pull the clip out. So you see that I just kind of pulled it towards myself, so just towards that direction of where I am, so to the back wall. And then once you get that clip off, you should be able to just wiggle the relay right off. There we go. And once we wiggle it off, we can see that there's got 2 wire connectors. It's got a black and an orange, and we can just undo that. If you need to take a picture, you can as well. So we've got the black is on the top and the orange is on the bottom, with the black also could be in the horizontal and the orange in the vertical position. But anyways, once we get that off, I can do a quick test on it. Alright, to get these wires up, I think I'm just going to have to use a screwdriver. Get that kind of pried up like so. Get that one off. Then we can get this one off as well. Alright, so that is free. So the first test we're going to do is a little bit unscientific, but it's called the rattle test. Basically, if I shake this and something comes out like a particle, or if it rattles a lot, you know that something is broken in there. And these part right here, the relay and the start capacitor for the compressor is so cheap that if you're in doubt, it's better just to go ahead and replace it. And I will also be providing a link to that. The reason I provide links to it is because those are often the number one question I always get is, where do I get these parts from? So anyways, to prevent that, I will go ahead and provide a link. And if you're curious, that is the part number itself right there. But yeah, so the number one test would be to do is the rattle test, and if that passes, you can also take a multimeter and measure it for continuity, which I'm going to do now. All right, so I've got my multimeter. It's in continuity mode, which means it'll beep if there's continuity, or you can also put it in resistance mode, and just to see if you have any sort of resistance reading. You should have a resistance reading. Doesn't really matter which one, but as long as it's not an open circuit. So basically, we're going to get our leads, and we're going to stick one in one hole. The color doesn't matter, and the other in the other hole right there. And as you can probably hear, we have continuity because we knew the compressor was working. So now we know that our relay is good as well. So yeah, so you could test for continuity by just sticking your probes in those two holes right there. And if you don't have continuity, go ahead and swap out the relay, or like I said, if you hear a lot of rattling, or once you take this thing apart, particles or metal pieces fly out, which is very common. These things fail a lot because you are switching on a high amp draw compressor. So these things will fail. Go ahead and switch out those parts. So installing the relay slash capacitor assembly is really simple. You just go ahead and plug in the wires. So we have the black in the horizontal position and the orange in the vertical position. It was held in by this clip right here. So if you didn't get a good glimpse of it before, here's a good glimpse now. That clip is gonna just go into or hook into these slots on the compressor, I should say. So there's one slot right there, and the other one is right there. So I can just zoom in or focus on that. There's the other one. And as you can see, there's also 3 prongs protruding from the compressor. And those 3 prongs is what you're gonna line up with the relay. So 1, 2, and the third hole is up top. So we just used these 2 holes to test for continuity. The third one we didn't use. So to install it is we're just gonna put it in to position. We can kind of just feel around for where those prongs are and just kind of push it in. And once we get it in, I'm just gonna use that clip to secure it. Right, so that is what it should look like when it's all properly reassembled. That clip is what's holding on or securing that start relay and capacitor combination onto the body of the compressor. So I'll leave you with a 4th reason why your GE refrigerator is not cooling, and that is the evap fan. Now, before you get to replacing the evaporator fan, which is a little bit more complicated, make sure you test to see if the condenser coils are clean, the condenser fan is working, and the compressor itself is working. Now, I'm going to have to make another dedicated video to replacing the evaporator fan because it is a little bit of extra work. So basically, it's deep down inside the refrigerator. And one of the biggest symptoms of a bad evap fan is, I should say deep down inside the freezer, because one of the symptoms of a bad evap fan is that the freezer side is okay, but the fridge side or the refrigerator side is not that cool. So that is the bad indicator, or another indicator of a bad evap fan. But like I said, before you do that, make sure you try these 3 things. So if you found this video to be helpful, make sure you hit the thumbs up sign.